BlackFacts.com presents a timeline of Black Lives Matter movement. The movement.
Black Lives Matter campaigns against violence and systemic racism towards Black people. The International Human Rights Campaign began on social media in 2013 with the Black Lives Matter hashtag, and has since gone on to lead calls for Black people to be treated fairly by authorities in the USA and around the world.
– 2013, Trayvon Martin.
The Black Lives Matter movement began in 2013, following the death of Trayvon Martin, an African-American teenager who was shot while walking to a family friend's house, and the subsequent acquittal of George Zimmerman, the man who shot him. The campaign was co-founded by three Black women, Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi, as a response to the police killings of Black people. The phrase Black Lives Matter was first used in a Facebook post by Garza after Zimmerman was found not guilty.
2014, Eric Garner, Michael Brown.
In 2014, Black Lives Matter protested against the deaths of numerous Black and African American people. Eric Garner died in New York City after a policeman put him in a chokehold while arresting him. Michael Brown was killed by a gunshot from a police officer, Darren Wilson. Both peaceful protests and riots followed, much of which was done under the banner and hashtag of Black Lives Matter. In response, co-founder Patrisse Cullors organized the Black Lives Matters Ride.
– 2015, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, and Meagan Hockaday.
The following year saw another spate of Black people killed by police officers in the USA, including Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, and Meagan Hockaday. Black Lives Matter protested against these and many more. They also organized protests to highlight the injustices faced by Black women and Black transgender women. By the end of 2015, 21 transgender people had been killed that year in the USA, a record number at the time, and 13 of the victims were Black. –
2016, Deborah Danner, Alton Sterling, Philandro Castile.
– 2016 saw Black Lives Matter organize many more protests against police brutality towards Black people. Those whose deaths occurred due to police actions included Deborah Danner and Alton Sterling. Early July saw over 100 protests take place across America following Sterling's death on July 5 and Philandro Castile's shooting the next day. This year also saw major American sports stars lend their voices to the cause of Black Lives Matter. In July 2016, basketball players including LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony opened an awards ceremony by speaking about recent deaths of Black people, saying, "Enough is enough."
– 2017, First Art Exhibition.
In 2017, Black Lives Matter put on their first art exhibition timed to coincide with Black History Month in the U.S. state of Virginia. It featured the work of over 30 Black artists and creators. In June, they held a protest after the officer accused of killing Philandro Castile the year before was found not guilty.
(2018) Gricerio, Mac, Kenneth Ross Jr.
In an interview with ABC News, Cullors said, "BLM has popularized civil disobedience and the need to put our bodies on the line. With things like the Women's March, and Me Too, and March for Our Lives, all of these movements, their foundations are in Black Lives Matter." As they marked 5 years of action, Black Lives Matter continued to highlight the deaths of Black people who had lost their lives at the hands of U.S. police that year, including Gricerio Mac and Kenneth Ross Jr.
(2019) 21 Savage, Isaiah Lewis.
In February 2019, the rapper 21 Savage was arrested and detained by the U.S.'s immigration agency, ICE. As a result, Cullors convened a group of 60 high-profile stars from the music and entertainment worlds to advocate for his release. Then, in May, Oklahoma teenager Isaiah Lewis was shot by police and killed. Days later, Black Lives Matter held a 100-strong rally in protest.
(2020) George Floyd.
Major protests were sparked at the end of May following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. A video showing a police officer kneeling on Floyd's neck went viral following his death. Black Lives Matter went on to organize protests around the world. In London, two Black activists Ima, 18, and Tash, 21, organized a rally in Trafalgar Square, which was attended by thousands on Sunday, May 31st.
(2021) Nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
In January, the Black Lives Matter movement was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by Norwegian MP Petter Eide. On April 20th, former police officer Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 counts relating to his killing of George Floyd. Crowds who were gathered at the spot where Floyd was killed, outside the courtroom and across the U.S. erupted into cheers as the verdict was read out.
Narrated by Timbuktu. To learn more about Black history, visit www.blackfacts.com.